And you have how many years now, today, studying the motor vehicle laws?
From that time in 1995, from that day, well, 95 to 2000 is 25, and then a couple more years. It'd be 27 this year. And people are defined, or they're described at Article 1, Section 1 of the Oregon Constitution. Well, I'm going to give you the whole section.
Before you do you want to actually say one more thing about Tom on the even years? His office would...
He is the go-to guy for laws, for all new laws and old laws. He is the guy who knows all the laws or has the capacity to figure out where they are.
He was, and now today it's Dexter Johnson.
Okay. So anybody who needs to know the law, like the agency that is regulated by a particular statute, that agency gets notice of that new law from him, and that's why he publishes them. He publishes the Oregon Revised Statutes every other year during the even year. Well, now it's pretty much the same, but now we have sessions every year. We have a long session during the odd number year and a short session during the even number year. But
you know how a lot of times you go to various agencies and you ask them questions about XYZ. Can you go to Tom or Dexter's office and ask them questions about statutes? Or if you did, would they tell you, oh, we don't give legal advice? Or
no, Dexter has answered that question very explicitly to me. Dexter is a very he's not somebody I would sit down and have dinner with.
Okay,
but he does have all the answers. But he says, according to Article 4, Section 9, we don't have to answer public record law requests during legislative session. One week before and 1 week after.
But other times they do.
Mm-hmm, he does.
And he can talk about the statutes, mm-hmm, because that is his...
He can answer public record law requests. He is the guy to
clarify,
to make requests for laws too.
And so that used to be Tom's job. Now today it's Dexter's job. So Tom taught you the difference between people, and persons.
Yeah, and let me tell you about Article 1, Section 1. These are the verbatim words, okay? It starts off, it says, we declare that all men, when they form a social compact, are equal in right, that all power is inherent in the people, that all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness, and they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper. No book guides them. It's just whatever they may think proper. They can't have criminal intent, but if they think it's proper, and that means when they're standing in line at an agency waiting to get a license, they can, at that moment, that's one of the moments in all time that they have a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government.
So you were talking about chapter 174?
That is in the Oregon Revised Statutes, and it is, I did say that is statutory construction. Anybody who reads any chapter of the law should read that chapter first, because if you don't understand how laws are made and why they're made and who they regulate, you won't likely understand it, at least not as well as you would if you read that first.
Okay, and that's where we're at today. Most people don't understand.
Tom was telling me, most people don't know the difference between people and person. He said this is a secret language that attorneys speak, and now you're in on the secret. Yeah.
So, do you want to explain the difference between the people?
Well, Article 1, Section 1 does a good job, I think. It's actually the Oregonians, who wrote, and they were the people. They weren't attorneys. They were the people who wrote that. So, and they weren't legislators either. They were the people. Persons, and why they're regulated.
Do you know how many definitions in the Oregon Revised Statutes there are for persons?
Well, no. I mean, yes, I do know, and
I think it's 9. I think it's 9. I think there's 9 definitions for persons.
But they're very similar.
Yeah.
And the ones that I usually refer to are Chapter 174 and Chapter 183. Chapter 183 is the Administrative Procedures Act, and that's from the federal code originally. But there are others, but they all refer to the same individual. And what is an individual? An individual is a single entity from a group, a similarly situated group, right? Single entity from a similarly situated group. It's not, you can't just infer that somebody is a bird in a flock because somebody calls them an individual. You can't just say he's a page in a book. You have to have context. Whatever you're talking about provides the context. So when you're talking about, my favorite subject is the motor vehicle laws. And when I'm talking about that.
And you have how many years now, today, studying the motor vehicle laws?
From that time in 1995, from that day, 95 to 2000 is 25, and then a couple more years. It'd be 27 this year.
27 years.
Yeah.
Studying the motor vehicle code.
And watching the new laws coming out, and yeah, I want to make an amendment that puts, and one of the things that the definitions of person includes, there's a list of definitions. Person is one of them. But at the top it says these definitions apply throughout the whole 3 feet of books on a row, on a shelf, right? Unless a particular section needs another definition, in which case it'll be there. So in almost all of them, in most of them, there is no definition of person in any given chapter. It's that definition in Chapter 174 that they're talking about.
And how can...
And it's not really a definition either. It lists similarly situated individuals or entities, individual firm, co-partnership, joint stock company, limited liability corporation, etc.